Moon Facts. Source, NASA, CNN. By visualgk.com. How far away is the Moon? The Moon is farther away from Earth than people often think. A good ballpark number to remember is that the Moon is about 250,000 miles away, that is, 250,000 miles, or about 400,000 kilometers. It's such a vast distance that you could just about fit the other 7 major planets into the space between the two worlds. Astronauts from 3 of NASA's Apollo missions, including Apollo 11, placed special reflectors on the lunar surface that are still used to determine the Moon's distance with extreme precision. In fact, they've revealed that the Moon is moving away from Earth by about 1.5 inches per year. How big is the Moon? This one's another easy approximation to remember. The Moon is about 1/4 the size of Earth in width. Put another way, Earth is about 4 times wider than the Moon. That's just about as wide as the United States or Europe. What color is the Moon? The Moon tends to look sort of orange, or amber-colored, when it's rising or setting, and more whitish when it's high overhead. The orangey colors are caused by the Moon's light passing through Earth's atmosphere to reach your eyes. And the bright whitish appearance results from its surface being brightly illuminated by the sun. Up close, the Moon's surface is mostly shades of gray, in particular the color of old, well-worn asphalt. Why do we always see the same side of the Moon? It may not look like it from here on Earth, but the Moon really does rotate on its axis, much like Earth does. We always see essentially the same face of the Moon, because it orbits around Earth in the same amount of time it takes to rotate. A side note is that, since it's rotating, there really is no permanent dark side of the Moon. The changing phases of the Moon demonstrate how the region of its surface, illuminated by the sun, revolves around the Moon every month, over the course of the lunar day. What are the dark areas on the Moon? The Moon has a bright and dark areas across its surface. The dark areas are known as mare, which is the Latin word for seas. The lunar mare are volcanic basins, created in the aftermath of ancient impacts, billions of years ago. After the impacts, the craters filled with lava, which eventually cooled, to form smooth dark plains. Dark lava rock of this kind, known as basalt. One of the most famous mare is the Sea of Tranquility. This was the landing site, chosen for Apollo 11, in part because it was fairly smooth and level. It hasn't been walked on by man since 1972. After astronaut Neil Armstrong landed on the Moon, as part of the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, astronaut Gene Cernan was the last man to do so. In 1972, during the Apollo 17 mission, 12 men walked on the Moon between those years, and all spacecraft on the Moon's surface since have been unmanned. The Moon could soon be visited by humans again. NASA's Artemis program aims to send the first woman and the next man to the Moon by 2025. NASA is also planning for what would be the first strategic human presence on the Moon. NASA's new rocket, the Space Launch System, will send astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft to a lunar orbit. Astronauts will dock Orion at the Gateway, a spacecraft where they will live and work around the Moon. The crew will take trips from the Gateway to the Moon's surface, before returning to the orbital living station. The first spacecraft to reach the Moon was a Soviet craft. In the race to space, the former Soviet Union launched ahead of the US, with its unmanned Lunar 1 mission, in 1959. The spacecraft didn't actually land on the Moon though. It was the first craft to reach the vicinity of the Moon, missing the landing due to a timing issue during its launch. The Lunar 2 craft was the first man-made, unmanned object to touch the Moon. Later that year, the US considered detonating a nuclear bomb on the Moon. A top-secret project transpiring in 1958, Project A119, was planned as a show of strength and an opportunity to boost domestic confidence, at a time when the US was losing in the race to space, to the Soviets. If the bomb exploded on the surface, instead of in a crater, the flash of light would have been visible to people on Earth, with their naked eye. However, the plan was never carried out, due to concern about a negative public reaction, and the higher probability that a manned moon landing would be more popular. The project documents remained a secret, until former NASA executive Leonard Dreyfus, who led the project, revealed it in 2000. Please like, share and subscribe. visualgk.com